Hey guys, welcome to our first class in this mobility program. So this class specifically is focusing on your mobility fundamentals. This is the first step into the puzzle that is our Budokon mobility and what we as moving warriors are all about, which is integrated, holistic, functional movement. So when we're speaking of mobility, what do we mean? We mean being able to move with more freedom through our deepest ranges and being able to connect different shapes through in a more fluid way. Okay, so being able to transition, and more importantly, for this to bring you therapeutic benefits in the sense that yes, you are mobilizing your joints and working through your soft tissue and synovial fluid in the joints, but also in terms of building your longevity and overall athleticism. Okay, and this starts to complement our daily activities, our other sports. If you are a grappler or martial artist, this is fantastic work for you. So in this class, when we're speaking of transitions, what are these transitions? Well, we have 5 primary positions. Okay, so we're going to go through them now. Our first position is our seated upright position. Now, these positions are not fixed. Okay, so seated upright, they can change, but the principle is the same. Okay, so we get seated upright. We have side body, so on our side. We have supine position. We have prone position. And we have our inverted position. So we have 5 primary transition points. As I said, these are shapes and points that we transition through, and so long as you're moving fluidly through one of those, your sequencing should start to connect. So we're going to begin by slowly working through the body here and warming ourselves up. This sequence will take approximately 30 minutes, okay? And if you're wanting to use this as purely your training for the day, that's fantastic, but you can also start incorporating these transitions individually, so doing them as warm-up drills or your cool down. You can see how you want to work this into your routine. Otherwise, it's also quite nice to start connecting the shapes and building your sequences as more of a choreography, and even can become more of a self-expression type of work. All right, so we're going to begin in a seated upright shape. Now, I want to think about having my heels underneath my knees, okay, and having a nice straight spine here, and then my toes. We always have something called a demi-point, okay? So a demi-point in Budokon, it comes from karate, okay, but it's in between a plantar flexion and a dorsiflexion, okay? So you're going to have your toe pointed, your foot pointed, and then you're going to flex your toes up towards your face. So it seems like you are able to kick with the ball of your foot. Okay, so I want you guys to have a demi-point at all times because we really want to fire into the front line and the back line at the same time. Placing your hands at your side. Okay, we can just sort of tend our fingers next to us. We're going to start bringing our knees over slowly towards the right side, and think of getting your knees to the mat, drawing them up and shifting to the other side. All right, so now just finding your own pace here, moving from your seated to what we call this shape an S seat. All right, so we're just moving through this, warming up into the hips, Now, if you're really tight, it's also good to work through it slowly from side to side. Just working through those tight spots. One more. Bringing it back up to seated. So now what we're going to do is place your hands behind you again. This time you're going to take your knees over to the side and think about pulling the opposite shoulder. So this would be my left shoulder. And I start pulling the shoulder, retracting the shoulder away from the ear and really pulling it back so that we're getting this kind of twist happening in the spine. So keeping your chest facing in front of you and then taking it over to the other side, retracting the shoulder away from you. And then to add to this, as you're finding that little pull, think of pushing down your back leg into the mat and then bridging your hips forward. So that not only are we getting a twist in our spine, but we are also getting a little bit of a glute activation and a stretch across the psoas, the hip flexors, as I bridge forward. So really squeezing the glute in the front. Good. Nice. And now we want to talk about forward stepping and back stepping. All right. Another key fundamental transition is when we are moving, what we start to do quite a bit is forward stepping and back stepping. So let's start working into this. So as I start taking my legs over, I'm going to take the back leg, and as I'm taking my leg forward, I'm not going to allow the leg to come off the mat, okay? I want to trace the mat underneath me with the ball of my feet, forward stepping the leg as high as I can, sort of in line with my opposite knee. See if you can maintain this twist, right? So just still retracting your shoulders and then back stepping the foot back into seated. So taking it to the other way, forward step, back step, S-seat, forward step, back step, seated, S-seat, forward step, back step. So you can work through this slowly, okay? And then when things start to feel good and you feel like you're really getting into the movement, you can add a little bit of speed. So back, forward step, back step, forward step, back step. Now what I'd like you to try is to take your hands off the mat. So now this time, before we add the forward step and the back step, let's try without. So we're going to keep our hands here. Okay, if it's too much, you keep your hands on the mat, but I'd like you to find this sort of flexion in your spine where I'm kind of pushing away and I'm rounding, okay? And this is quite nice because you can see here, you can even sort of allow yourself to soften into the seat, okay? I'm going to now take it over to the other side and then find an extension here. So I still find that bridge, I find that twist, I take it over. Same thing. I find flexion, extension. And we can start to find twists. So even if I look this way, and you really just make this feel good, right? And it becomes sort of intuitive for you to find these extensions and flexions through your spine. It becomes a little bit more primal as I'm moving through this. Great work. So now we're going to add in that forward step and that back step. So as I'm coming through, I base my hand behind me and I forward step. Take it back. Seated, side body, forward step. and the back hand is basing. So coming through that flexed position, SC, forward step. Working side to side. You can add a little bit of pace to this, especially if you're wanting to build some heat. Maybe you're getting prepared for a jiu-jitsu class. And coming back to seated. So you can really learn, like once you've learned how it feels in your body, you can of course add speed. But just remember that we encourage you to take it slowly, because the slow quality in your movement builds intention and it builds strength, okay? So often if we rush through movements and we add too much pace too quickly, that is when we conceal the work that we haven't done. So I really encourage you to move slowly, move with intention, try and understand what we're doing, okay? And then you can bring speed into it. So now working from seated into a side body. So what that looks like is I'm going to have we're going to have our hand, forearm, shoulder basing concept. So I'm going to look where I'm going. So over to the right side. I'm going to base my right hand down first, and then I'm going to come down onto the elbow. Try and keep your elbow pretty close here to the hip. And then I'm going to start taking my knees over to the side. And as I get here, I want to start lowering my chest down over my hand. And now watch. As I circle down and across, my basing hand is going to turn so that I am on the blade edge of this hand. I'm going to then start rolling over and then take this back leg, forward step it through, and then I have my hands here as frames, okay? We have our hands here as frames because this is in a martial arts, specifically a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu context. We want to have our frames here so that we're ready, okay, we're active. So I'm in my side body. My feet are also active. They're pressing into the mat. They're not just floppy, they're pressing into the mat. Now, let's reverse this. So I'm going to back step the top leg, base the foot down. Okay, ready for me to come up into a seated upright. So I'm going to lean over my right hand, okay? And now I'm going to find this blade edge. I'm going to circle up, pushing into my blade edge, pushing into my hand, forearm, bring myself up, and then come back into a seated position, frames up in front. Let's go down this way again. So again, hand, forearm, S-seat, I'll lower over my hand, forward step, frames into my side body. Back step, base the foot, coming onto the blade edge, pushing myself up, back into seated. One more time this way, facing my hand, forearm, lowering down, side body, back step, hand, forearm, pushing away, seated. Essentially what we're doing is learning to decelerate our mass and moving to and from the ground without crashing and falling. Let's take it over to the other side. So practicing the same thing on the other side. I look where I'm going. I base my left hand. If I face you, I base my left hand onto my left elbow. S-seat, lowering down, coming through, side body. Bring myself back up. I encourage you to please use your hands. We don't want to not use our hands, because if we don't use our hands, that's when we get very clumsy with the movement. All right, coming up. Okay, now that we've got that. So now we're going to add in a forward step to a combat base, okay, and then move through that, okay. And now you're going to integrate the principles of your hand, forearm, shoulder basing into this, okay. We're going to move from side to side. So we're going to come down into our side body, and now watch. As I forward step the back leg, okay, I'm in my side body, I'm going to bring this bottom knee. I almost want to draw it up so that it comes close towards my chest. And I get real tight here, this chest to thigh connection. And then I'm going to circle my way forward on the blade edge of this bottom hand to go hand, forearm, and then I circle with the front arm to then push myself up into a combat base. And if I turn here, as I push up, I want to tuck my toes under so that I'm here. Now to lower back down, I base the back hand, untuck my toes, and now don't just collapse like that. I want you to think about sliding into the transition. So how do I do that? I base my hand, I untuck my toes, and then you see the bottom leg here. I can almost windshield wiper this leg in slightly, and then as I put my weight into my back hand, I shift my weight down, and then I go hand, forearm, shoulder. Guess what I'm in? Side body, a back step, hand, forearm, shoulder, seated. So now if I do that on the other side, I go from seated upright to side body. I forward step the leg. Now watch, if I forward step to you, I go hand, forearm, shoulder, circle up, combat base, tuck in the toe, and I'm here, arms up in front. I'm basing my hand to the mat. Again, I take my bottom leg, I windshield wiper it in slightly, I sit down, lower, shoulder, side body, back step, pressing up, seated. So it's all in the details, okay? So let's see if we can move from side to side, moving from your upright to your side body to your combat base, and then back again. Okay, so we're going side body, forward step, combat base. Going down, back step, seated, other side, side body, combat base, side body, back step, seated. You really want to move slow. Seated, forward step, hand, forearm, press, tuck the toe, combat base, lowering down, side body, back step, seated, other side, forward step, combat base, back step, up, seated upright. It's quite tough work, and you'll notice that the more that you work on the ground, the more difficult you actually realize it is. Right, so now adding on to this. Let's do it with a bit more speed if we can. And now, when you come into your combat base here, see if maybe your hips, if they're feeling open, see if now, when you come up, you can actually find this elevated position, okay, slightly elevated, and you're gonna almost bridge your knees forward. So squeezing the glutes, and you're gonna shift your weight forward. So I come up, boom, shift my weight forward, bring it back down, lowering down, through, seated upright, other side, bridge, down. All right, let's move. Let's move with me. Side to side, but don't forget the steps. Okay, try not to rush. You're adding speed, but you're not rushing. It's all in the details. All in the details. Yes. Boom. Don't forget to tuck the toes as you come up, and then untucking them on your way down. All right, so basically what we're doing is creating space in tight spaces. Nice, good. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about our inversion work. So instead of our combat base, we're going to add in a little inversion. Okay, so we're going to like build this up step by step as well. Even if you are familiar with inversions, I want you to use this experience to help you to finesse and fine-tune your movement. Sometimes we think we know how to do something, but we haven't really taken the time to study it and to learn the details in that movement. Okay, so this is what's going to take you from a good athlete to a great athlete. Okay, it's developing movement intelligence and precision. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come through our side body. Now, just like we did with this forward step, what I want you to do, basing your feet and on the balls of this back foot and on the ball of this top foot, we're active here. If I turn to face you, you see I've got this tight little connection here with my elbow underneath my torso. I'm going to keep this here. And I'm going to press into my feet because you see I get this little lift underneath me here. This is going to allow me to then sort of pull this knee up behind me. So think of so when you take this forward step, I want you to make it a nice big step. And think of getting the bottom knee close to your chest. Okay, so you have it pretty tight. Now, as I come up, I can actually even reach your top hand out, okay, for a little bit of support. You're going to press into your feet and take this knee, this back knee, and just place it here on the ground. Okay, so you should be kind of on the top of your one shoulder, or the back of the one shoulder, with your chin tucked. Okay? Then this hand that's underneath you, I want you to slide it under and point it away from you. Okay. So now bringing the hand back in, you're going to slowly lower and slide this bottom knee underneath you again, so that you can back step into your seated upright. All right, so I'm going to do it again for you on the other side. You come through seated to a side body. I forward step like I'm going into combat base, except this time I reach with my hand, tuck my chin, slide my bottom knee in towards my chest, press into my feet, and I get onto the bottom shoulder and slide the knee out so that I come into this sort of tripod stacked position. All right, and now to reverse that, I bring my arm back in. I slide the knee underneath me to come back onto my hip. I back step, side body, seated. Great. So let's just work from side to side. If you're getting stuck, see if you can just like pause the video, maybe try figure it out, rewatch, okay? But it's these principles is very similar to what we just did with combat base, except instead of coming up, we're on the shoulder. The side body, forward step, press, slide the knee out here, tuck it in, back into the hip, back step, seated, other side to side body, through, slide. So you can take a look, you can watch me if you're getting stuck. So we're just basing onto this bottom knee. Okay, so you're not coming up yet. I just want you to learn how to first get into the position and how to develop control here. Good. Now we can add on to this. So we're going to build the full inversion now. So as we come from our seated position, we're going to go into our side body, forward step. I'm going to reach with my hand, tuck my chin. Same thing. I step onto my knee. I'm basing on my knee. Now, what I'm going to do is extend. See if I can slowly extend this basing knee and see how it can take me onto the back of my shoulder almost entirely. Okay, almost where I can even maybe float my feet up away from the mat. Okay, now to reverse this transition, I'm going to bend my knee, come back into this little low lunge space and get my knee back onto the mat. I'm going to slowly start lowering down onto my hip. I back step, come up into a seated, and now I'm going to go on the other side. If you're getting lost, think of rewatching and slowing it down. All right, so we're taking it over to side body. I forward step, press into the mat, I base my knee. Now I've always got my hands for support. I start to press into this knee to elevate myself so that I come into this little tripod position. And I can see if I can even maybe float my feet off the mat. I lower my feet. I start bending the back knee. And then I start to slide the knee underneath me so my hip comes to the mat. And then I back step into a seated position. See if you can work through that a couple of times. So I'm going to go in and out of it. You can also slowly just work in and out of it. So slowly seeing if we can get that elevation, taking it down with control. Make sure that you control this descent. Okay, sliding into the hip, back stepping through, other side. Back stepping through. So really building on this ability to invert. And it's just onto the one shoulder. Don't forget the arm at the end. Decelerate the mass, back step through, boom, into seated. Nice work. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about adding in, this is a transition to your I'd say a turtle. So if you're familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, this could be like a turtle transition, so into a turtle, or maybe you know child's pose. It's a very similar position. So I want you to think about being really tight here in your work. So what that looks like is we're going to go through seated into our side body. I'm going to forward step the leg. Now here's a tiny detail. As I forward step the leg, this bottom knee here, I want to bring it up as high as I can to really getting that hip flexor up and finding this compression here, okay? See if you can keep it really tight. Now, as I forward step, I'm going to be coming onto my knees. So I want to use the same hand forearm configuration to transition into this. So I'm going to circle my chest over the blade edge of my hand and see how I'm pushing into the ground. Okay, don't roll over your hand, but you need to be active. I'm going to bring this extended leg inside, and then I'm going to come into this little ball over here, and then I'm going to have my hands facing here in front of me. But the key here is to keep your transition as tight as possible. So let's just reverse that. So if I'm going to reverse this, I'm going to take this front leg, back step it behind me, okay? And you'll see here, as I do this, I come onto my side body. See, I'm in side body again. And now if I want to come back up into seated, I can easily circle my way up, hand, forearm, and look, I'm back in seated position. So if I go again on this side, I base my hand, I come through into side body, I forward step the leg high up, keep the knee in, and now I'm going to roll over, hand, into turtle position. And you see what, to make this, to really get this mobility and this deep flexion here, I want to see if I can sort of almost roll over my thigh. Now, what if you're really tight? If you're really tight, you might not be able to get this level of compression happening. So that's okay. If you are very tight, like in your hips or your hamstrings, then you can come up a little higher. So as you forward step, and you may be somewhere around here, that's fine. So you adjust your height depending on how it feels. But if you can get really low down, this is what we're looking for. Okay, so taking it over to the left side, same thing. Side body, I forward step, I stay tight, bring everything in. Back step, seated. Side body, forward step, turtle position. Back step, seated. Side body, forward step, turtle position. Nice. Okay, now I want you to move from side to side. So going from seated upright to your turtle. So side body, forward step, turtle. Back step, side body, seated upright to side body, forward step, turtle. I don't want to see any space being created between the transition from side body to turtle. Yes, and remember you're blocking, right? Frames at all time. See how tight you can make this. Beautiful. Okay, excellent work. So let's just add in one more little transition, and then we're going to work through this as just a flow through each transition point so that it kind of starts connecting more for you. So the final one is a little bit more for the hips and the undulations through the spine. So again, we're going to base our hands behind us, and I'm going to think about stepping this back leg. So I'm going to forward step the back leg in front of me and over, just over the bottom leg. Okay, and you see I've got this twist happening in my spine. I'm going to push into this top foot and see how I can sort of shimmy my hips out to the other side. I then bring the other leg in front, finding this twist to get my hips out on the other side. So we're just going from side to side. So finding an S seat, a forward step, seated, S seat, so forward step to S seat. Find that pull and that rotation to seated, S seat, shimmy the foot out, other side. Good. And really just working the hips. Now, as you're doing this, see how it actually starts to locomote. So you can start moving forwards with this piece. Starting to move forwards. Yes. And we can even take it backwards. A little bit for the brain here. Good. So where does this apply? So if you do jiu-jitsu, this directly applies there. But if you don't, this is just a good exercise for you to get more into your hips. Okay, working different angles through the spine and building up strength to move across the ground. But if you do jiu-jitsu, this shows up, especially if we're really wanting to train for guard work and working your guard and re-guarding. This is a lovely drill for that. So we can do this without the hands. So as I take that step, I would usually have one hand out in front of me to then switch. And I'm really working this transition backwards as well. And it's not so much that you're doing it in a straight line. It's actually, you're moving the hips from side to side. Nice. Okay, so we're going to just put this together in a little sequence format for you so that you can now just, first of all, feel what it's like to move through some fundamental transitions as all interconnected in a holistic way. So we're going to start in our seated. We're going to begin with our little twists. Okay, so first we're going to come from seated, the side body to a forward step, and we're going to do each thing 4 times. Okay, back into seated. From seated, a forward step. Seated, a forward step. Seated, a forward step. Seated. Next, into our combat base. Forward step, combat base. Come down. Seated. Side body. Combat base. Side body. Seated. Forward step. Combat base. Now, if you want to speed it up or slow it down, feel free. Combat base. Now we move through our inverted shape. So, move forward step, I face my knee, and I come down. So we'll do that variation first. Onto the knee first. So just onto your knee, extend the arm back, bring it in. Extend the arm out, bring it in. Now into the full inversion. Tripod stand, up. Decelerate slowly. Seated. 4 on each side. Don't forget to extend the arm back. Get tight. Stay compact. Don't let yourself get too spread out. Nice. Coming up. Turtle. Side body. Forward step. Turtle. Back step. Seated. Side body. Stay tight. Stay compact. Stay tight. One more. And now for the final one, the hips. So remember, I base my left hand. I bring this hand in front. And if you want, you can just keep your hands on the mat so that we just working into the hips. You can take your hands up to block in front of you. Take it backwards if you run out of space. But just remember, it's about the hips swiveling. So, one more time. Good stuff. Nice job, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for that Budokon fundamentals class. You learned some of the primary positions. I want you to now go and study this work. See how you can adapt it to your own routines. If you do sports, highly recommend doing this as a warm-up, or even like before your training, if you're just going to the gym. But see how you can really get more tighter and more compact, and also how you can develop this control in a very tight, small space. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you in the next class.